The anti-immigrant rallies on the weekend must be called out for what they are: acts of racist fear-mongering and hate. The neo-Nazis publicizing white nationalism, white supremacy, hate, and racism on our streets must be a wake-up call for the government to take far-right extremism seriously. Far-right extremism has been growing in this country for years, yet it has been downplayed, or even worse, politicians have been fanning the flames of hate and racism by blaming migrants and people of color for the failures of their own policies, for not tackling the housing crisis and the cost of living crisis. For years, Labour and the coalition and even the media has punched down on migrants and refugees, which has fed into far-right extremism growing in this country. Migrants like me have been told again and again to put up, shut up, or go back to where I come from. And that has now resulted in this despicable anti-immigrant sentiment that has flowed onto the streets of our cities. For 2 years, the government has been smearing, vilifying, and attacking pro-Palestinian activists, while literal Nazis are marching on the streets of this country. This should be a real point of reflection for the government to change course. I will be moving a motion at 1 p.m. in the Senate to condemn these anti-immigrant racist rallies and to condemn those MPs and senators that supported these rallies and spoke at these rallies. The Greens stand in solidarity with all those communities who bear the brunt of racism and hate, of white supremacy, and of far-right extremism. And we will keep working to make this country an anti-racist nation where everyone feels safe and welcomed. So the government has been fixated on cracking down for the last few years on protesters who are marching for justice for Palestine. And that's who they have been blaming, and wrongly blaming, for the rise of anti-Semitism in this country. For years, far-right extremism has been ignored. I mean, this country still hasn't even reckoned with the fact that the person who murdered 51 Muslims in a mosque in Christchurch was a far-right Australian man. What we need to do, what this government needs to do, is to take this threat seriously, to stop punching down on migrants, to stop scapegoating migrants, international students, to stop putting up draconian anti-refugee and anti-immigrant laws, which all feed into and give succor to these neo-Nazis. The Greens from day one have been raising the alarm on neo-Nazis in this country and the threat that they pose to the safety of everyone that lives here. The government needs to take this as a wake-up call, and they can start off by fully funding and immediately implementing the National Anti-Racism Framework that actually has many recommendations on how to make this country anti-racist and how to actually deal with far-right extremism as well.
Dave, I guess outlaw the display of symbols and things like that. Would you be any further legislative response you might see? Should we be looking at, for instance, prescribing something for it as terror organisations?
Well, legislation is one thing, but I think the main thing that drives these far-right extremists and brings them onto the streets is that no one actually is talking about anti-racism. In fact, the opposite is true. Politicians, Labour, Liberal, One Nation, have over the years fanned the flames of this hate and race, which is then used to cause division and blame and scapegoat migrants and refugees for the policy failures of those governments. So that needs to stop. These politicians need to stop fanning the flames of racism and then move towards working on that framework, National Anti-Racism Framework. And it's a whole of society change that is needed, but it has to start here. As the leaders of this country, politicians need to take this threat very seriously, as we have been for years.
Should there be any penalties imposed on the MLAPs that did attend these rallies?
Listen, I don't think there need to be any penalties imposed other than condemning those MPs, which is what our motion today at 1 o'clock is about. So there is a clear signal that is sent to those MPs that it is unacceptable to flame this rhetoric of hate and racism.
Good. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.